watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 12th meeting for the Long Beach Board of Zoning Appeals. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
I'd like to call over the Town of Long Beach Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. With that, let's stand for the roll call, please.
Sure. Chairman Seth McCormick,
Here.
board members, Bob Lemay,
Here.
John Mangle,
Here.
Fred Woods,
Here.
Charlie Goodall is absent, BZA Council Chris Willoughby,
Here.
Clerk Treasurer Meg Collins, I am present. Building Commission Representative Joy Schmidt is here. That concludes roll.
Did you say President? Yes. Okay, now we'll stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible.
Good. Okay, we'll move on to approval of minutes from January 8th. We have a motion to approve those or any corrections or additions. So.
Second.
All in favor?
I think it has to be a roll call vote, so
It's a roll call vote.
it is because we have Zoom members. So Seth? How do
Aye.
you vote? Bob?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no old business. And we have no new business, but we do have a preliminary hearing for 3028 Mayfield Way, from Mary Walters. So I think now's the time, if you would step up, state your name, and even though I just did, you can do that too.
There's a button.
Turn your mic on, there you go,
Okay,
and tell us what you're all about.
I'm Mary Walter, and I am looking to address the front yard issue of my space. Currently, I've ordered Mayfield and Moore Road,
Right,
and I use Moore Road as my front door.
right.
And I'd like to redo the backyard so it's a usable space. And in doing so, I'd like to put in a splash pool,
Okay,
but it's considered my front yard.
right. And I guess we have any idea why your house is listed as addressed to Mayfield as opposed to Moore Road?
I have no idea.
I didn't suspect I did, you know. It's curious to, Bob and I went there, it's a curious situation. And you look at the house, literally one side the back and one side's front.
Right. They put an addition on at some point in time, and I think when they did that, they changed. There's really, technically, in my opinion, there's no front door. And I think the front door probably was originally on Mayfield Way, but was taken down when they did the addition.
So the house directly to the north, I think it's 3026. I noticed that that address was on Moore Road side. What street is that addressed to?
To Mayfield. There's,
Okay, so your house and the one directly to the north are both.
right, there's the, actually, there are 4 houses. The one to the left and the one to the right, and then the following. So there are 4 houses that have Mayfield, but I think all 4 of them are currently using Moore Road as their main
Yeah. So where's your mailbox?
on Moore Road.
And you get mail from Mayfield.
Pardon? Yeah.
You get mail addressed to Mayfield in your mailbox. It's on Moore Road.
Correct.
It's a good mail.
Try UPS.
So we want to screw them up.
What's that?
We want to screw up this good down.
Yeah, right. To make sure you keep them healthy. So I guess, there's, the oddity of this is, the whole front yard business.
Correct.
And there's one easy thing, is the petition to have your address on Moore Road. Or we can go through the process of an appeal. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Well, if your address is Moore Road, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Oh, right.
So that being the case, I don't. I'm not sure I have an issue with this. Anybody? Set, ready?
Yeah, no, I'm very familiar with this property because one of my good friends lives directly next door at 3026 Mayfield. And on the other side of that, there is on the other side of that house, there is a pool that's kind of situated approximately where this pool is suggested it should go. And I'm not sure what that address. I'm assuming it's 3024 Mayfield or it's something on Moore Road. And I'm, I'm familiar with kind of the slope behind the house or in front of the house that goes towards Mayfield. And I'm aware that, the primary ingress and egress is through Moore Road because Mayfield is kind of like a side street. I think though that your point is well taken with regard to an address change that obviates the need for a zoning variance. And I don't know how that fits within 150.052, which the Board of Zoning Appeals may, upon application, provide for the location of an accessory use in a side yard, provided there is no other location on the zoning lot where the use can be located. I mean, I guess that would apply to here. But it is the better solution as opposed to like setting a precedent for a side yard pool or a front yard pool through a zoning variance and address change. I think it's something that we should probably consider.
Add a few things.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. LeMay reminded me, and I had a discussion with Mr. Wall, because this is one of those, just like to point out, it's one of those oddities in the code. And it came up on another property, not exactly apples to apples, but in interpreting the code, if there's an ambiguity or something isn't clear, it would get interpreted right against the drafter or the town. And the conclusion that everybody came to before, or the discussion is, there really is no, even the definition of front yard, essentially it defaults to you have two front yards, right? And that's absurd because that isn't the case. And so I think you probably have three options here, right? You could go through with this and treat it as it is and understand that it's reminded that the building commission was going to look at this language, and who knows how many times this will come up in the future, but you could proceed with considering this. If you're inclined, set it for public hearing so that she could mark her place, right? Give her an opportunity to address some things and then make a decision as to whether, one, you want to just change your address. But even changing your address, there's nothing in the code that still says front or back, right? You're making that determination, but it would leave you open, right? So that's two things that work together. Another would be, even though this really isn't filed, one option would have been, instead of asking for a variance, is appealing timely the denial of your building permit application, but there's a timing element to that, and you've probably, I don't know when you were denied your permit, but probably that ship has sailed. The other one is going back to, if you were inclined to, because obviously expeditiously, weather's getting nice, you'd like to have some resolution somewhere along the line. Another option would be if you were inclined to set it for public hearing, finding that everything was in order, you could set it for public hearing and mark her place. And you could also make a decision that we don't think you need a variance tonight, and you could take it upon yourself and you could authorize someone to pen a letter to the building commission to say, we don't believe that the code supports a need for a variance here. Here's why. And so we prefer, we don't believe that there's a variance that's necessary, or that the procedure, and there's a building commission meeting coming up that perhaps then it gets considered. The building commission takes your direction. That won't be formal, but if you set the public hearing, you're still marking your place, right? So you're safe to keep moving forward. Because I think even if you ask for an address change, you're still defaulted to 2 front yards technically. There's nothing that defines it.
Yeah, there's nothing that says,
And it's an oddity in the code.
I guess when you look at the ordinances. Oh, I'm sorry. When you look at the ordinances, 154.051 says a private swimming pool and bathhouse fenced and protected against hazards. The fence shall be not less than 4 feet above the ground, located in the rear yard. So it says that the pool needs to be in the rear yard. However, when you look to see, is there any place that says what is her rear yard? Nothing really defines that. She's a through property, meaning she's got what you could call a front yard on both sides. But there's no place that really says it. The only reference to that is 154.105, and that basically says that when you're in a through property. There's no place that says in the ordinance that she actually has 2 front yards. It says that the setback is 30 feet on the roadside and on the Mayfield Way. But it doesn't say this is the front yard. It says it's got a front yard setback, but it doesn't say it's the front yard. So to me, I think you could call it the backyard. It's just the setback is 30.
Well, I guess, and listening to Chris and your options there, I think, my opinion would be that the third option is the correct one. And in fact, in this particular case, a variance is not necessary. So we shouldn't have to go through the public hearing or. So that's my opinion. I don't know, Seth, ready?
No, I mean, I think that's a possibility. The issue I think we have at this point is the timing aspect of it, because we don't want her to lose any time, right? Looking at the schedule, the town next building committee meeting is in 2 days. So can we get that recommendation to them, or that opinion to them within that time frame? Because my preference would be, I don't want her to go through the cost and the expense of having to advertise and do the mailing for a public hearing, but I also don't want her to lose the time if she wants to do that on the off chance that the building commission disagrees with us and insists that she go forward with the variance. So I think we need to be careful in terms of what we're deciding here to make sure that if she decides that she wants to move forward to public hearing, she can have it at the next available meeting.
What I think you could do to support, just to leave yourself options here, right? Because again, she's here because that's what she was instructed to do from the building commission, all of which is fine and following procedures. But if you want to stay flexible, you could allow her to set that. You could set her matter for public hearing, but allow her to amend her petition to be potentially in the alternative, which one would be a petition for a variance. The other one would be a petition to appeal an anticipated, but appeal a building commission decision. And then we have 2 members of the building commission here, right? And they could suggest that this gets added So that keeps moving along and conveying, we could get a letter from the BZA to the building commission tomorrow. And
Good.
so that if they decide, listen, we're not gonna listen to your opinion and we're gonna still not approve this, we're not gonna reconsider it. Then she can appeal that decision and then you can make your decision more formal because she would be formally appealing the building commission. Or she could decide she wants the variance, but this is an oddity, so one way or the other, it has to get accepted.
We can put it, to public hearing and have her appeal to the, building commission.
Well, she could appeal that decision, but by virtue of taking that vote, we could send correspondence to the building commission that you've reviewed this and determined that there is no variance needed, which then should give them the authority that usually they want to hear, so that, because they don't try to expand upon, right? They just follow what's there. You have a little more authority, but giving that opinion. But my point in given that flexibility is then it allows her to quickly, she can still comply with notice requirements and be on track for her hearing and pivot after Friday, because what's the last date for her notice? 14. So she'll still have plenty of time to comply.
Okay.
April meeting is the 9th, so the 26th, so 2 weeks from today, March 26th, that would need to be mailed or received?
And maybe, Chris, you're
Mailed.
gonna get a building commission meeting, right? So maybe you can tell the building commission that if they decide they don't want to listen to us, we're gonna grant the variance, so they might as well.
Or the challenge of potentially, well, we'll say that the consensus is that this shouldn't happen, but either way, she's either going to appeal that decision on Friday if it got renewed and then denied, or she's just gonna file for the variance. And one way or the other, this just cuts to the chase, because again, it's ambiguous. Does that make sense to everybody? At least keep an option. I know it's unorthodox, but keeps it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the decision is ultimately hers, but I do agree with that approach, that kind of setting it for a public hearing, permitting her to amend, informing the building commission of what our, preliminary opinion is. And then if the building commission then grants her application, then the public hearing's moot and her obligations with regard to the notices are moot. And this will be resolved without us having to go through the process of a public hearing and her the expense of a public hearing.
They probably don't want to do anything until after the building commission meeting on Friday.
But you would be set. So ultimately what has to happen is you need to tell the BZA what you'd like to do. If you'd like to just move forward, because you've already started the process and move forward, it seems like consensus is you'd probably be successful. But that's gonna take you another month. The other option that we're talking about is they could vote and they could set it for public hearing as if we're moving along with this path, right? And then we will send correspondence to the building commissions, making sharing the findings and what they think about the need for that. And if the building commission says, all right, we take that, we'll grant it, then you get your building permit as you originally started and this goes away.
Okay,
And then alternatively, if you don't like their decision and they say no, then you have the option to do this, or you can appeal their decision. And then what they're saying more in an advisory capacity, they could make a decision and overturn the building commission, or they could grant a variance, whichever way it comes out to the same solution, but it allows you flexibility.
so I have two options, right?
So, yeah, you just have to let them know what you'd like to do, because ultimately they're gonna go on your request of how you'd like to.
Well, I think I'd like to do what you're saying. I mean, have the opportunity to do the hearing, but I prefer not to if
Well,
And you'll go
Okay.
Friday.
you can request now that they send it to public hearing. And then if the building commission grants you your permit, we can cancel.
then we cancel it.
You're right, yeah, and no harm, no foul, because you haven't published and sent all those certifieds.
Maybe a land will tweak to that, could be open to public hearing if needed, right after the building commission meeting.
No, because it's part of the, she has to notify, has to send notices, sign all of that, so.
Okay, so that has to happen now.
No, it can't happen until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, and you send it to the public, yeah, it can't
Right.
happen now. This is just preliminary for state,
Okay.
because otherwise everything looks in order in terms of the submission. Probably a little tweaking of the findings and decision, but we don't usually use that drafts and.
And just one thing, it looks like, one of the reasons why pools need to be in the backyard is for aesthetics. So that your neighbors across the street aren't
Right.
watching the pool party. But you guys have plenty of vegetation you're gonna plant there blocking that.
I love vegetation.
Then it looks like it's hard to plant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually making the area a lot more user friendly
Mhm.
because it's on a slope and it's.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, one trip around the house tells you which is front door, which is back. I mean, it's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say push comes to shove. If nobody has a definition, her usage is the closest thing to one, because the International Building Code didn't have one, the town code doesn't have one. By default, she has two, which is not what the intention is. So ultimately, you just need to vote on not having that three-headed option there.
Yeah, and on the little roadside, she can actually access her front door without going up any steps. Whereas on the Mayfield Way side, you've got to go up steps to get
Right.
to the doors. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. with that.
right.
Door.
Well,
She'd have to change everything.
yeah. You go into the lower level, which is a base, technically a basement. I mean, you don't go into, the front door is never,
But your garage is on the little roadside, so when you park your car, that's the side you go in.
Right.
Which I think would be.
Visitors come, they come in the roadside, right?
pardon?
Visitors come.
Yes.
Come in the park and driving, walking out.
When you use Waze to get to your house, where does it tell you to go?
Well, my brother can't find it. He goes to Mayfield Way, even though I tell him to.
It's because he's using Waze.
Okay, so I guess at this point, what we. You need a motion. Need a motion?
So I'll make a motion to set it for public hearing.
Yeah, well, I think we need several, right? We need a motion to send correspondence to the building commission stating we don't think there's a need for variance. We need a motion to set it for a public hearing with her permission, or with like granting her permission to amend her her petition in the event that her building permit application is denied. That way it can all be heard at the public hearing next month, right? Are those separate motions, or is that all in one?
So we got two motions that are necessary.
And as long as it's timely filed, right, which again, you do that at the same time. And
Do I hear one?
Motion would be to set it for public hearing and to send a communication to the building commission with what we're talking about.
Okay, that's both in one, huh?
Both of them.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that.
Roll call.
Sorry, Seth seconded.
Yes.
Okay. Roll call vote. Seth,
Yes.
you vote in favor. Good. Bob,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Okay, so,
you should probably plan to go to the building commission meeting, and then between the two representatives and myself, well. Yeah, there's two of us will be there, and then we'll pass that along.
okay,
Might have to make a suggestion for you, when you go to the building commission, take a picture of your Moore Road side and the Mayfield Way side and show, it becomes very obvious.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and
And-
is,
Because, is it Friday?
Friday, 1 o'clock in this room.
1 o'clock, okay, so I don't have to do anything but come to that meeting,
Right.
okay,
Bob, Larry did put out his meeting notes. Who is going to inform? You will tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, and Ms. Walters, I mean, we can't really give you too much advice, but I just do want to make you aware that if your building application permit is denied, you will need to amend your current petition to include an appeal of that denial of your building permit application. It will need to be filed with Ms. Collins.
So, yeah, you have two options. They basically both get you in the same spot. One is appealing their decision, one is grant asking for the variance. And that the overall zoning packet, I believe, has reference to a challenge or an appeal of the building commission. So that it'll be a different, same material pretty much, just different application, what I'm looking at. You probably already know.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll help you through that if the building commission says no. We'll help you through that.
Super. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, and with that, do I have a motion for, closing?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Seth,
Yes.
Bob, how do you vote in favor of
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
Freddie?
Yes.
Thanks, we are adjourned.